SF with AK. This is Aman Kumar and I am a 15 times certified Salesforce developer. Today we are going to discuss about Lightning Out. It's an amazing feature that I recently came to know or use. So I was working on a project where I needed to add a flow to their website. So we directly cannot take the flow and attach it to the website. We either can iframe it or use Lightning Out. So iframe would not provide me that UI and it's not that much secure. So I used Lightning Out, and today I'm going to tell you how you can use it for guest users as well. So this is the agenda for today's session. We will be discussing what is Lightning Out, what are the requirements, how to set up and configure, how to create the Lightning app, and all these things. What is Lightning Out? So Lightning Out is a feature which allows to run Lightning components like Flow, LWC, or a components outside of Salesforce. It integrates with your external apps like your website. It supports both authenticated users, where you can allow your internal users to log in and then use the feature, or guest user, which does not require any login. They will just come in and use the feature. The component or feature is still in beta, so use with caution, and also it might not support all the features. One limitation that I came to know was that the flow does not support lightning file upload component if you are using with Lightning Out. Key requirement. So these are 4 key requirements that we need to have before we start with Lightning Out. We need to have edit access to third-party app, edit HTML or JS site, because we will be using that to embed the component into the website. We must have internet access because Salesforce is online. Session ID, if we are using with authenticated, we will need session ID. We can make it dynamic using the Auth. That is the better approach and recommended from Salesforce. From Salesforce org, we will create a connected app if you want to use connected app and use authenticated user. Chorus allow list is also always required because it will also throw the error if we don't allow the website or third party that we are using, because it will not be Salesforce. Browser considerations. So when we use Lightning Out, the browser will think of Salesforce as a third party and it might block. So some new browsers like Safari automatically or by default disables cross-site tracking and it blocks third-party cookies. To use or to overcome this, we can use a custom domain. It can be a domain from our website, and we can add a subdomain for that. And you can use the same subdomain inside Salesforce. For the authentications, always go with session tokens instead of session cookies, because our cookies will cause some issues and it's not recommended from Salesforce. So to create a Lightning Out app, we need to have our application which will allow us to take the component outside of Salesforce. The access needs to be global as it needs to be outside of Salesforce. We can extend the Lightning Out app with Lightning Out app or Lightning Out app unstyled. If we don't want to use the Lightning styles, we can just use Lightning Out app unstyled. Deployment markup is the markup or HTML code that we will use inside the third-party app or website. We will discuss this in detail when we demo the component. Now, today we will be discussing about guest users. So we can also share the same flow or same LWC Lightning component with the guest users. We can create a flow and the form inside the flow and then allow guest users to fill up that form and create leads and other features in account or in Salesforce. It requires an Experience Cloud site because that will allow us to have a guest user access. It will not require any login because it's a guest access. But always use guest access with caution because it will open up the access of your Salesforce account. So if it's not required or it's not necessary, I would suggest don't go with the guest access but go with the authenticated access. Limitations. As I discussed, there are some limitations because the feature is still in beta. So as I told, one component, a file upload component in Flow is not supported by Lightning Out. There might be some other features or other components or other restrictions that can be there. So you can go to salesforce.com and find those best practices. As I discussed, always use custom domain to avoid cookie issue. Prefer auth over session IDs. So we should always give the user option to log in instead of storing the session ID and using that. Always test the components outside of Salesforce before deploying it to third-party app. So we can use the component that we are building outside of Salesforce on a free platform and then use, because it will not be harmful to use or test. Avoid guest access unless absolutely needed. So guest access should be the last option. Now this is a summary. Now let's see the demo and how we can configure it in live. So let's go back to Salesforce, go to setup, search for site, and we need to create a digital experience site. So I have already created one. You can create a new one from here. Select the Aura one and click get started, give it a name, and if you want to have multiple sites, or if you have multiple sites, give it a optional parameter so that you can identify which site we are using and create, and that's it. So now let's use the one that we already have. Click on builder. First thing that we need to do is click on settings and allow public guest user access. That is the first thing that we need to do. This will allow the user or guest user to access the site without logging in. Now let's go and see the flow that I have created. So I have created one flow. Let's open that, and this is the flow. In flow, you need to keep one thing in mind. You need to click on edit access and override the default behavior and restrict the access to profiles and permission sets only. That will allow us to assign the access of this flow to the guest user. You can not directly assign it from here, but if you override this from here, then you will go back to the experience builder site, click on profile, now scroll down and go to flow access. Now edit, and you will be able to find the flow that you have overridden the access for and add it here. Now it will be done and it will be allowed for the guest user to access. Now let's close this one. Next we need to create a lightning out app. Open developer console. I have already created one app. You can create file, new, and lightning application. If we are using another lightning component or LWC, we want to use lightning out dependency app. Right now we are not using that, so I will be selecting that. We will just create the app. The access of this app needs to be global, as it will be used outside of Salesforce. It needs to extend the lightning out feature, lightning out app. It needs to implement allows guest access so that guest user can access this app. Now the app is ready. Next thing we need to do is allow the chorus. So I will be using W3 schools for that, and I have already added the W3 school URL in my allowed origin list. Let's open an incognito window and go to W3 schools. Open any editor, and this is the code that we need to paste or use. So in this one, HTML header and this can be kept as it is, or if you want to change, you can change it. The script is the part where you need to paste or use your community name. So this is the community name that I created with lightning out. Now this is a container, this is a blank container on which we will be inserting the DOM element, our flow. Now we will be using lightning.use and our app name, which will be used or invoked when we run the component. Then we create a component from that app called lightning flow, and we insert this component onto this container with this ID. So we pass that, and once that is done, we start the flow. We pass the flow name. So you can use one app for multiple flows. You don't need to change anything. One app and one site can be used for multiple flows. Just keep changing the name of the flow and it will work. Similarly, you need to add the community site name here as well. And now let's click on run and give it some time. Yeah, this works. This is the flow that we invoked, and the flow works. Next and previous, it works. So that is how you can use your Lightning Out app to open up access for default guest user access. You can use the same flow or same code on your third-party websites. In my case, I was using it on a website to submit forms and create a lead in Salesforce. So we can use web to lead for that, but web to lead we need to create the form outside of Salesforce. So in this case, I created the flow, and in the flow I created a form, and I use that form for the submission of applications, and that creates a lead in Salesforce. So that gives me access and everything, and the UI is great, and I didn't need to do much customizations. So that is it from my side. Let's see. Thank you, and if you have any questions or doubts, please post in comments. I will be responding as soon as possible.